Chapter 6. Wake Up. It's 8 o'clock. It was an extraordinary morning for Dry Rose, and with Ponyville being the way it was, that was something saying something. His sleep was refreshing, the walk off the store through the sparkling night was invigorating, and everything seemed to be just going his way for a change. He opened the store a few minutes early, warming up the coffee machinery, and popping the first frozen bits of cookie dough into the oven for some fresh biscuits. Then he gave in to his desires to whistle while getting all the rest of the multitude of things ready for his first customer. Applejack probably would not be showing up for almost 2 hours, and was probably never coming to the store again, so he had a long period of idle dreaming scheduled this morning while standing at the front door to his store and gazing up to the night sky. "Can't believe I was making that big of a deal over nothing," he muttered to himself while wiping down the tables. "She's a princess. She probably has more than 6 impossible things happen to her before breakfast." The bright and cheerful ding of the front door made him look up from wiping the tables a little surprised at having a customer this early in the morning. Then, after the identity of his nighttime visitor soaked in a little, it made much more sense. "Good morning, Princess Luna," called out Dry Rose while scurrying back behind the counter. "What can I get you?" Still feeling pretty good about his life, Dry Rose considered getting a sign for his wall. Luna approved. Perhaps. Maybe even designated both as a favorite with moon-themed cushions. For her ambitions, the customers would love it. 2 out of 4 princesses prefer our coffee. I could get napkins printed. Luna made a show of examining the price board before ordering a medium caramel frappuccino, although she went for 2 pumps of frap roast and a quick squirt of chocolate for a change, instead of the Alfredo flavoring from last time. It took a little time to mix her order up, slicing it over to the counter with a flair, and smile for the beautiful princess who had the most fetching hint of sly smile while just standing there and watching him work. "That'll be 16 bits plus tip," said Dry automatically before remembering the last time she visited without paying. In all odds, a princess in Canterlot did not have to carry bits with them. A little most likely not actually purchase anything with their own money since, well, they had invented the bit. "Or I could let you run a table," he added in a hurry, trying to sound relaxed and casual. Luna lifted one eyebrow fractionally and pointed to an old side behind the counter that he had inherited from the previous owner. "The store specifics, why, no credit," she stated in the most authoritative voice. "And I have no bits upon me whatsoever. What shall I do?" "Think of it as a gift," said Dry. "The law forbids princesses from accepting gifts, except on state of diplomatic occasions," countered Princess Luna. "That could be used as leverage to obtain unfair advantages with the crown." "Then I was thinking of doing some advertising," said Dry just as smooth as he could. "Your endorsement of my product to be used to tape your cover of your tab." "I would need to sample your product first," said Luna. She lifted the coffee in her magic and took a sip, not seeming to notice the wave of sparkles driving down her mane in a frothy ripple of starfire afterwards. She lifted her head from the cup, her nose twitched, and she smiled. A piece of paper from behind the counter took flight in her magic, and a short time later the announcement corkboard of the wall on the coffee shop bore a new sign. "Let me get you a cookie before you go." Dry scurried into the kitchen and pulled out a hot tray of the oven with his magic, extracting one semi-solid cookie and floating it over the direction of the Dark Princess. "Be careful, it's hot." In return, Luna regarded him from under lowered lashes. "You know I still cannot pay." "I still owe you for the sign," countered Dry Rose. "How much would you be in debt to me?" Dry Rose shrugged. "Depends how much traffic it brings to the store. Certainly more than just one coffee and cookie." Luna took a sniff of the hovering cookie and breathed. "Remarkable." Then she took a bite and promptly grabbed for her coffee again. "Hot, hot, hot!" After a few bites and slurps, she added in cookies to the sign, then turned to Dry Rose. "So how has you and young Twilight arranged thy relationship?" Dry's heart skipped a beat, but he tried to continue acting casual while he wiped down the counter. "We don't have a relationship. I probably won't see her ever again. She says she's going to start changing herself to the bed." There was an ominous thud at the door, quite unlike any other thud Dry Rose had heard before. He turned to look even though he was afraid of what he was going to see. He was right. Princess Twilight Sparkle was leaning out against the outside of the Java Lacazia door with the bed chained to one leg. Something in her mind was working because the bed was floating in her magic behind her, but the amount of concentration seemed to be preventing her from actually opening the door and coming inside while taunting the giant chunk of bedroom furniture behind her. "Oh," said Dry Rose. There was a word that he wanted to use next, but since Princess Luna was in the room, he decided to use it and internalize it. Luna gave a little gasp and held a hoof to her mouth. "Oh my." "Oh my what?" asked Dry Rose, momentarily distracted from the sight of Princess Twilight Sparkle pressed face first against the outside door, leaving trails of drool down the glass. "Never mind," said Luna abruptly. "The dreams of another are private." Dry Rose took a second look at the drooling princess. "You don't mean she's dreaming about me, do you?" Hearing no response, Dry Rose looked around the coffee shop, only to find his first princess customer of the morning had vanished. Unfortunately, the second one was still there. To consider locking the door or locking the door and moving. Against his better judgment, he went over and opened the door and cracked it. Said, "Yes, Princess Twilight?" he asked in a quiet whisper. "Got it." Dry darted back inside the shop, grateful that nobody else was up this hour to see what was going on. He mixed the syrup as quickly as possible, as well as adding 2 hot cookies in a bag for whatever nibbling she intended on later. Taking the order back to the door, he held it out and whispered, "Here you go. To go, so you can go." Twilight Sparkle's magic formed around the coffee in the bag while she floated over a small pile of bits, but when Dry tried to move back into the store with them, he found out he was being held also. She took a deep breath out of the steam rising from her mouth coffee and moved right up to powerfully pin him against the door, but locked her lips to his with a graceful delicacy and power that brought his heart into a hammering crescendo. Once done with the much longer breathy kiss, the floating bed behind Twilight Sparkle settled down onto the ground and she slipped back under her covers, only with Dry Rose trapped under one alicorn-strength foreleg. To be honest, he was really not able to fight her embrace and might have blown over a stiff breeze, but he did struggle a little for the sake of the apprentice's appearances. Then Twilight snuggled him down with him, held close all 4 limbs and both wings, nibbling on his ear, while floating the cup over to a rather large cup holder on the side of the bed. The approach of dawn to Ponyville also brought Applejack to her traditional visit to Java La Chosa, only this time she stepped outside the door instead of just going outside like usual. She had to. There was something blocking her path. A bed. In that bed there were 2 sun ponies. Dry Rose peeked out from under the imprisoned purple foreleg and mouthed a silent, "Help." Twilight Sparkle merely shifted in her sleep and nuzzled the damp ear of her prisoner. Applejack stood stock still for a long time, looking back and forth between the 2 of them, and then up to the sky, as if to see there was a multicolored tail draped off to the side of the nearby cloud that would explain the situation. She looked so much like she wanted to say something particularly witty or sarcastic, but after a while she just shook her head and whispered, "I ain't asking how you manage this. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Nope, not going to ask." After pushing the bed a short distance away from the door, Applejack slipped inside the coffee shop. Then after a minute or 2, she came back out with a hefty bag of coffee beans, wrapped up in a tablecloth. It did not really look like an answer to his problem at first, but she hefted up the bag of beans and on the count of 3 swapped the bag for Dry Rose just as slick as Daring Do would have. Twilight Sparkle gave out a little whine in her sleep, but after clutching the bag more firmly and taking a quick sip from her coffee, she settled back into a snoring slumber. Once the 2 of them were fairly certain Twilight was not going to wake up, Applejack nudged Dry Rose with the shoulder. "You looks jealous of that bag of beans. Just a little ashamed at being so easy to replace." He looked up the castle in the distance, then back down at the huge bed. Applejack lowered her head and rooted underneath the bed until she had it up on her back. "I'll carry. You make balance and making sure none falls off. None and no potty falls off, okay?" Sounds like a good deal to him. Dry Rose could never have carried the hefty bed, even a fraction of the way back to the Castle of Friendship, on his own, and Applejack would not have been able to balance the heavy load all by herself. And thankfully, there were no other ponies up that near to dawn, even though Dry Rose felt fairly positive that Princess Luna was watching from a distance and laughing. It took a while, but once they got the immense bed and the occupant put back where they belonged, the 2 of them took a moment to stand and catch their breath in the bedroom while watching Twilight Sparkle sleep. "This isn't creepy, is it?" whispered Dry Rolls. It seemed to be a little excessive to be whispering because the bed had thumped into several objects on the way back in its present location. Twilight Sparkle had not even twitched. Still, Dry was trying to err on the side of caution. "Nah," said Applejack. "She's just so cute when she's sleeping like that. Like a little cute kid curled up around a toy mouse, and with a cup holder on her bed," she added when Twilight took another sip of her coffee. "Weird, but wonderful. That's our Twilight." Once they had gone outside the bedroom, Dry Rolls turned into the direction of the front door and started brusquely striding to his escape, but stopped after a few paces and looked back. "Wrong way?" "Wrong way," confirmed Applejack. "I swear this place needs to be a piece of the cheese at the end." Spike likes it." Dry Rolls took a moment to look around, both in the hopes of identifying some landmarks in case he had ever to find his way out again, and to admire the sheer radiant beauty of the crystalline palace. It must be like living inside a piece of candy for him. "Twi tried to map it out once on a stack of graph paper," said Applejack with a chuckle as they walked. "It didn't end well. I'm just glad she didn't chain herself to the castle," said Dry Rolls in a vain attempt of humor. "Can you imagine her showing up outside my door, dragging a few thousand tons of crystal behind her?" Applejack laughed. "Yeah, I can." Dry Rolls paused and looked over at Applejack. "I was making a joke." "You was? Skip it." Dry sighed and picked up his pace. "I better get back to... I left the shop unlocked. You still ain't got used to Ponyville yet, has ya?" Applejack picked up the pace too, holding the castle door and catching back up afterwards. You're probably just gonna find a sack of bits on the counter and a little less coffee." He did find more bits and less coffee when he returned to the store, but he also found something else in particular. A familiar dark alicorn behind the counter. Luna was smiling and taking orders, while Rarity was making a good attempt at working the equipment, although she gave out a gasp of relief when Dry Rolls showed up and swapped positions with him almost instantly. In order, Dry managed to get the few customers waiting in line all properly caffeinated, then turned to his next item on the list, intending on getting in the first word. He did not. "This has been the most enjoyable experience. Dry Rolls, have you ever needed an assistant?" Dry Rolls considered the offer for a long time before raising an obvious objection. "You already have a job." "Oh, yes. One moment, please." Luna promptly trotted outside and lit up her horn, lowering the moon behind the horizon. In perfect serenation, the sun rose up and bathed Ponyville in brilliant morning light. Perhaps a minute or two later than usual, but it showed that Celestia was on schedule. Once she had returned to her position behind the counter and put her apron back on, Luna regarded Dry Rolls with a blinding smile. "This is far more interesting. It shall be most enjoyable to discover the way of our relationship with the common folks of the town. Besides," she touched the breast pocket of her apron, monogrammed with an ordinate R, as well as Luna's name. "We house even presume of the raiment of a proper style for our employment." The sinking sensation that Dry Rolls had been experiencing on and off for a year so far made itself known again. There was into getting too deep, and there was ascending into the molten core of Equestria, with nothing but to protect herself but Obsidian's underwear. This was rapidly approaching a third definition of the term. "Are you sure you're not just doing this to snoop on Twilight Sparkle visits here?" he asked cautiously. "Nah, of course not," proclaimed Luna. "There's also a employee discount." Dry Rolls decided to take Luna at her royal word. He skipped the preliminary job interview, got her a copy of the employee paperwork to complete whenever she had time, and went through training on the coffee equipment. There was more involved in the job than she expected, from the complicated widgets needed for every order to the ovens, flavor pumps, and such. She marveled at the container of pumpkin spice, white chocolate, caramel, sorghum, hazelnut, and vanilla, seeming to make mental lists to try each of them in turn, and was fascinated to see how the rules and regulations of Canterlot actually applied once they got out of the companies they were supposed to regulate. Despite being out of the country for many centuries, Dry was impressed at the speed which she had acclimated to the modern era and the genuine warmth she showed when greeting the morning non-royal customers, many of whom did not realize that there was a princess behind the counter. During the fairly calm pre-lunch lull, he finally had a chance to time with Luna about non-work things and was surprised by her first observation. What a strange dialect of Equestrian these royal ponies speak! The Starbucks franchise insisted on all of the names for the products, but I did some additional signage, said Dry, pointing to the small, medium, large princess signs over the foam cups all snug in their cracks. They're a little groggy in the morning to speak, fluent Starbuckian. Nay, the languages of which the citizens use when they place their order, said Luna. Sometimes they barely open their lips, and yet you can ascertain their desires with great perfectness from the slightest gestures and grunts. It was a gentle stroke across his ego that Dry could not help but preen at. That's for practice. My cutie mark is in alchemy. He gestured at the shimmering beaker on his flake. But I've gotten pretty good at picking up the little shifts of the colors and textures and positions, as well as the atrocious hoof writing of ancient alchemy texts from back in Witch in college. It translates fairly well into reading of insentient emotions of ponies. The front door of lava-led Shaza slammed open so vigorously that Dry Rose was a little surprised the glass did not shatter. The tiny little bell was ripped free of its housing and flew somewhere in the store, trailed by its normal cheerful little jingle. But what really caught Dry Rose's attention was the sight of Princess Twilight Sparkle standing in the doorway, smoldering more ways than one. For example, continued Dry Rose's mouth. Even though his brain had seized up, she's boiling mad. You! Growled Twilight while stalking forward, one unstoppable step at a time, with monomaniacal focus in his direction. She stepped in front of the counter and brought out a familiar bag of coffee, beans in her bag, holding it to one side like it was full of distasteful substance that deserved being disposed of, much like a certain coffee shop owner. There you are! Snarled Twilight through gritting teeth. Did Rainbow Dash put you up to this, or did you come up with all of it on your own? What? Obviously, Dry Rose had mistaken Princess Twilight Sparkle's question for one that required an answer, because she lifted the hefty bag of beans, slamming it down so hard on the counter that every window in the store rattled. Dry could have sworn he could have smelled the beans inside roasting, and he was more afraid than he would be next. I found this in my bed this morning. Do you think it's funny? Sneaking into my castle? Into my bedroom? I wasn't in your... Actually, we were just there for a little bit, but when Applejack found us in bed together... Dry Rose did not even see the bag of beans move before it hit him in the face, but he did hear the front door of the coffee shop slam while he was picking himself off the floor in the back room. He waggled his jaw, determined that nothing seemed to be broken other than the little bell from the door, and once he was sure he was not going to get a slug with the giant bag of coffee beans. Again, he staggered up off the floor. Luna, who was suspiciously quiet during the whole ordeal, who Dry really suspected of just having tucked away a camel and looked down at him with sympathetic and twinkling eyes. She shall return. Thanks for warning, mumbled Dry, checking his jaw for loose teeth. He looked up and cocked his head to one side, thinking about the statement before asking the obvious question. Why? You did speak of the element of honesty. No doubt young Twilight is traveling to her friend when the front of the events of your mentioned treachery. It made sense, but only particularly. And she's coming back here. Why? The element of honesty shall no doubt tell her that the truth, that you had no sexual desires upon her shapely body, only to wish to return to your sleeping princess to her castle before the populace of Ponyville did spy of the two of you into a passionate embrace in her bed. Dry Rose felt a sudden wave of intense embarrassment sweep over him from the quiet murmuring going on among his morning customers. He looked out at the tables where every pony was intensely studying the floor, walls, newspaper, or anything they could possibly look at other than his direction. Oops, said Luna, covering her mouth with a hoof. After clearing his suddenly dry throat, Dry announced the whole store. Princess Twilight Sparkle tied herself to her bed to keep from sleepwalking. It didn't work. Applejack and I dragged her to the bed back to the castle. That's all. I have a witness. Lyra lifted one hoof. I heard the phrase passionate embrace. Can you hear the phrase free coffee all week instead? Countered Dry. I went to school with Twilight, said Lyra. Your point? The unicorn musician looked around the room. Twilight doesn't know, but we ran a pool. It was just a few of us first, but it grew the longer. She was in the school and Princess student. I don't think I like where this is headed, muttered Dry. I do, said Luna. A few ponies in the coffee shop murmured agreement, along with the one quiet. Yeah, Drywells fought off the urge to hit himself in the face with one hoof. Lauer continued just as a contribution to the discussion was wanted. So, what I want need to know since I'm running the pool is the date of your first kiss. Never! Blurted out Drywells, then after a moment to consider the depths of the misheard statement that backpedaled to a much more accurate but still embarrassing. She has to be awake for it to count, right, Princess Luna? Instead of instantly responding in the negative as he wanted, Princess Luna seemed to take the question with due consideration and a true glance outside. Truly, since the sun is up, this question is the dominance of my sister. I shall go seek her counsel. Wait! Drywells waved a hoof. They happen at night, so it's your domain. Don't get Princess Celestia involved in this. Please don't. Still seeming as if she was getting too much entertainment out of his embarrassment, Luna nodded. Verily, you are correct. I shall pass judgment upon this wager. She tapped one hoof on the coffee shop counter as if she was using a gravel to call court to order. Since it's obvious that the competitions of the pool would not be met if a young stallion were to steal a kiss from Princess Twilight Sparkle, while she was sleeping, any kiss made during the inverse situation would only logically be an invalid condition to award the wager. Luna cast a cool glance across the customers in the store, which all whom were generally nodding except for one in the back lifted up a hoof. Is there still time to buy into the pool? In the end, Princess Twilight Sparkle did not return to the store that day. Despite Luna's eager expectation, it was probably for the better. Author's note. Where Dry is struggling for the sake of appearances. Tech, for his sanity. Me. Oh, that's long gone. I could help but feel I would just be as amusing that a cup of coffee actually calms her down, and when asked when gave Pinky Dry answers, an espresso. Mrs. Cake runs to the door. Dry spots her. Pardon me, folks, emergency. Grabs the extra-large bench to the task, holds down a lever on the espresso machine, that makes a noise like tortured souls, folds it over into the cup and a courier who is trying to get her bits out. On the house, Mrs. Cake. Hurry! She runs out the door and Luna looks at him. What was that? That's enough espresso in there to kill some pony. Dry. Pinky's having a difficult week. We call that one depressal because it brings back her normal energy when she's feeling down. Normal? Energy level? Next! Okay, so I'm guessing this is actually the end of the chapter. Nope. We still have one more chapter left, but the thing is, we don't have that much time right here. So you know what? We're just gonna stop right here, and I actually do hope you guys actually enjoy this. Now, as I was saying, if you like this video, or if you like the story, comment down below if you want to actually hear more. But I am going to be continuing this. But yeah, hit that like button for more content, and subscribe to actually join the clan to become a warrior. Or to earn your warrior name as an apprentice. Anywho, keep on trotting, ponies, and you stay sharp, warriors.